The story begins with Mary sitting inside a bar, sipping her drink, as she strikes up a casual conversation with the bartender, Teddy, chatting about a movie she recently watched. Later, Mary excuses herself and heads to the bathroom, knowing her husband will arrive soon. Inside, she receives a phone call from her mother. During their conversation, her mother tells her that she's planning to visit at the end of the month, and Mary agrees. After the call, Mary puts on a blonde wig, wanting to surprise her husband and look even more beautiful for him. Not long after, Grayson finally arrives at the bar. The couple greets each other warmly and shares a brief conversation before deciding to head home together. As they drive, Mary removes her wig, and Grayson tells her she looks even more incredible. He gently takes Mary's hand and kisses it. Feeling the closeness, Mary leans in to kiss him, but suddenly... Months later, Mary is seen jogging outside in the freezing cold, appearing healthy and fully recovered. But without warning, a sharp pain shoots through her toes, forcing her to stop and clutch her foot in agony. She heads back inside the house, her mood clearly shifting. As Mary walks through the kitchen, she looks distant and unhappy. Grayson greets her and gently reminds her about their therapy session scheduled for later that day. Mary quietly agrees before heading upstairs to take a shower. Inside their bedroom, Mary does something unsettling. She secretly opens a drawer, revealing clipped pieces of a newspaper, articles discussing the possibility of a parallel universe. It's clear she's been conducting her own investigation. Soon after, Mary makes a discreet phone call to a man she believes is her real husband, Grayson. She confesses how exhausted she is from pretending and how unhappy she feels living with a man she believes is an impostor. The voice on the other end urges her to keep going and reminds her that this situation won't last forever. Mary says she's been researching, and after a brief pause, she agrees to continue pretending. Later that afternoon, their therapist arrives at the house and speaks with Grayson alone, unaware that Mary is just outside the door, secretly listening. Grayson opens up about how much the situation is hurting him. He admits that every conversation with Mary feels painful, that she barely looks at him anymore, as if he's a complete stranger. The therapist then asks Grayson to talk about his childhood. Grayson reveals that his mother struggled with addiction, while his father abandoned them and failed to take responsibility. Not long after, his mother passed away. Growing up with that loss shaped him deeply. Grayson explains that he promised himself that if he ever found love, he would never abandon it, no matter what. Hearing this, Mary feels a moment of relief wash over her. But despite everything, doubt still lingers in her mind. When it's finally Mary's turn to speak with the therapist, something terrifying happens. As she looks up, she suddenly sees a ghostly figure standing beside him. Mary freezes, stunned into silence, unable to react. Growing impatient with the long pause, the therapist speaks in frustration, explaining that he can't spend another hour sitting in silence. Mary finally breaks it by asking him a strange question: whether he thinks she's a good person. The therapist hesitates. He tells her that's not a question he can answer for her. When he turns it back on Mary and asks what she thinks, she quietly admits that she doesn't know. The conversation shifts when the therapist asks if she's still struggling with sleep paralysis. Mary answers honestly, saying it feels like she's always asleep, even when she's awake. That night, Gabriella, Mary's mother, calls Grayson. Unaware that Mary is listening outside the door. She's worried because she hasn't spoken to her daughter in weeks and is considering flying out to see her. Grayson understands her concern but gently reassures her that Mary is doing fine. He explains that her doctor believes Mary needs to recover at her own pace, and too much pressure could make things worse. Saying he's still at work, Grayson promises to call her back later. That night, Mary is soon trapped in a violent nightmare reliving the car accident. Grayson wakes her, and she bursts into tears, shaken by the dream. He goes downstairs to get her a glass of water. Alone in the bedroom, Mary suddenly sees the man she believes is the real Grayson. She speaks to him softly, saying she hopes he's really there. He assures her that he's always been with her. Moments later, her husband returns with the water and gently comforts her, leaving Mary caught between two realities. The next morning, Mary wakes up confused. Once again, she doesn't recognize the man beside her. She insists it's all a mistake and quickly leaves the bedroom. Overwhelmed, Mary sits in her car and screams in frustration. Suddenly, she sees the ghostly figure again, appearing behind her. Panicked, Mary rushes out of the car and heads to the library, determined to search for more answers about parallel universes. After gathering several books and returning them to the shelves, Mary notices a familiar woman, Elise. She called her, and Elise is happy to see her and asks how she's been doing. Mary explains that she's still confused and recovering. Elise apologizes for not visiting her, saying Grayson never allowed visitors at the house. That's when Mary confesses her fear, that the man living with her isn't the real Grayson. Elise looks at her in confusion, unable to understand what she means. Disappointed and feeling alone, Mary walks away. As she leaves, she hears a woman softly humming a tune that sounds strangely familiar. Mary approaches and asks where she learned the song. The woman shrugs and says she doesn't know, she just heard it earlier that morning. The moment only deepens Mary's confusion. Later, Grayson meets one of his friends at a nearby coffee shop, unaware that Mary is sitting at another table nearby. His friend asks how Mary is doing, and Grayson says she's okay and making progress. The friend bluntly tells him to stop acting like a saint, suggesting he could just walk away. Grayson immediately refuses. The waitress, Terry, approaches their table to deliver their order. Moments later, she walks over to Mary and asks if she'd like anything as well, mentioning that they might know each other. Mary quietly says no. Terry nods and leaves. Soon after, Grayson exits the cafe. Suddenly, Mary feels sick. She begins to vomit uncontrollably, staining her pants, and immediately leaves. When Mary arrives home, she heads straight to the bathroom. She turns on the shower, then reaches for a pregnancy test. Moments later, she stares at the result in disbelief. She's pregnant. Instead of joy, shock and unhappiness wash over her face. Not long after, Mary's mother, Gabriella, arrives unexpectedly. Grayson greets her at the door and lets her inside. Calling out Mary's name, Gabriella smiles as she finally sees her daughter and moves in for a hug, but Mary barely reacts. She doesn't recognize her mother. She doesn't even look at her. Later that night, while they're having dinner, Mary asks Gabriella a strange question. She wants to know the name of the song Gabriella used to sing to her when she was a child. Gabriella pauses, confused. She says she doesn't remember. It was a long time ago. Mary looks unsettled. She insists that her mother used to sing it all the time and wants her to remember. Growing irritated, Gabriella asks if Mary is now doubting whether she's really her mother, joking that maybe it's because of her facelift. Before the tension can rise further, Grayson steps in and pours Gabriella a glass of wine, gently breaking the moment. The next day, Mary tries to call the man she believes is the real Grayson, but there's no answer. Moments later, a car pulls up outside the house. It's Kevin, Elisa's husband. Gabriella opens the door, and Kevin asks for Grayson and Mary. Grayson greets him, surprised by the unexpected visit. Kevin explains that Elise spoke with Mary recently and grew concerned, so he decided to stop by and check on her. Grayson invites Kevin inside while Elise waits in the car. They call for Mary to come downstairs. When Mary sees Kevin, she immediately recognizes him and desperately asks for help, insisting that the man in the house is not her real husband. Kevin is visibly confused. Grayson is standing right there. As the situation begins to spiral, Grayson quickly intervenes and escorts Kevin outside, while Gabriella stays behind to comfort her daughter. Outside, Grayson apologizes to Kevin and Elise, explaining that Mary is still under a lot of stress from the accident and that her condition has complicated everything. He asks them not to tell anyone about what happened. Reluctantly, they agree and leave. Inside the house, Mary apologizes to Grayson and quietly goes upstairs. Later, as she sits alone in the bathtub, she whispers a haunting question aloud, asking if she's a good person. Suddenly, a ghostly figure stands there, staring at her in silence. That night, Gabriella speaks privately with Grayson about Mary's condition. Grayson explains that Mary is suffering from delusions linked to facial recognition issues. He says it doesn't happen to everyone, but in Mary's case, she responds to his voice. Yet when she sees him, something disconnects. She doesn't recognize him, doesn't trust him, and believes she's living in a parallel universe. Hearing this, Gabriella is heartbroken. She never imagined something like this would happen to her daughter. Before leaving, she asks Grayson to take care of Mary, explaining that she has to fly back the next day. The following morning, Mary and Grayson talk again. Grayson is still bothered by the awkward encounter with Kevin the day before. Mary apologizes, then quietly reveals that she's pregnant. Grayson's frustration instantly turns into joy. He's overwhelmed with happiness at the news that they're going to have a baby. Suddenly, a ghostly figure appears in front of Mary. But this time, she ignores it completely. Later, Gabriella prepares to leave. She hugs Mary tightly, and Mary apologizes for not calling her. Before stepping away, Gabriella leans in and whispers the name of the song Mary asked about. Angel Band. At last, Mary remembers. She tells her mother how much she loves her as Gabriella drives away. Moments later, Mary attends another therapy session. During the conversation, she finally admits that she received a phone call from an unknown number a few days earlier. The man on the other line claimed to be the real Grayson. The therapist calmly asks her what she believes separates the real Grayson from the man she lives with. Mary explains that the real Grayson feels like the love of her life, someone who makes her feel safe. Not physically threatened, but emotionally. She simply can't trust the other Grayson. Later that afternoon, Mary and Grayson visit a doctor for an ultrasound appointment. After the procedure, Mary asks Grayson to step outside for a moment. Alone with the doctor, Mary quietly asks about abortion options. The doctor explains that it can't be done there but offers to provide her with information for other clinics. Mary requests that the details be sent privately, explaining that she hasn't told her husband yet. The doctor agrees. Soon after, Mary secretly calls another doctor and schedules an appointment. Back in their bedroom, Mary makes another call, this time to the man she believes is the real Grayson. She tells him she's pregnant. There's a long pause on the other end before he says it's great news. But Mary immediately tells him she doesn't want the baby. Not with him. She explains that it doesn't feel right and that she's already scheduled an abortion. The voice on the phone suddenly changes. He tells her to stop. He says he can't do this anymore, and then confesses that he's already met someone else. Mary's world completely collapses and dropped her phone. Moments later, she walks downstairs in a daze. Her thoughts scattered, her hands shaking. Mary opens a cabinet and pulls out a gun. She confronts Grayson, telling him to stop, pointing the weapon directly at him. Grayson freezes, shocked, and begs her to put the gun down. Mary tells him he shouldn't be happy, because she doesn't want the baby. She demands the truth. Grayson insists the truth is simple. He is her husband, and they are going to have a child together. But Mary still refuses to believe him. In desperation, Grayson takes the gun and presses it to his own head. He tells Mary she doesn't need to do this, because he loves her and always will. Grayson then throws the gun under the sofa, and Mary finally realizes everything, beginning to appreciate her husband. That night, before going to sleep, Mary apologizes. She thanks Grayson for his patience and admits that she's terrified of having the baby, but deep down, she thinks she wants it. She tells him she appreciates everything he's done for her and all the love he's given. The next morning, Mary throws away all the newspaper clippings about parallel universes and decides to move on. Months pass by, and we see Mary step outside for a quick walk, her belly now noticeably bigger as the baby grows inside her. She returns home to find Grayson preparing breakfast. For the first time in a long while, the couple looks happy, united and ready to welcome the baby together. But that night, Mary has another nightmare. She relives the accident, remembering how badly injured she was as the medics rushed to save her, saying her condition was critical. Mary wakes up in tears, calling it the worst dream. Grayson offers to get her water, but Mary stops him. Instead, she goes downstairs herself. Outside, Mary makes one final call to the man she once believed was the real Grayson. She asks how he's doing and tells him she just wanted him to know that she's going to be a mother. She says this will be the last time she calls, thanking him and saying she'll never forget what they had. As she quietly returns inside, the man continues to talk to her. Mary hears another voice nearby and follows it, only to realize it's Grayson. Her husband is the same person she's been talking to on the phone all along. Furious and heartbroken, Mary accuses him of lying to her, of manipulating her mind and playing with her reality. Grayson apologizes and prepares to tell her everything. Suddenly, fragments of memory flood back. Mary panics, saying she doesn't know where she is. This isn't her house. She insists it's all a mistake. Then her water breaks. Mary collapses in the bedroom as labor begins. Grayson frantically calls a midwife, but Mary can't hold on any longer. She has to push the baby. As she screams, flashes of memory return. Her and Grayson laughing in the car, talking about their future together, and leave in the middle of nowhere. Then suddenly, the accident happened. Mary screams that the baby is coming. She sees the ghostly figure once more beside her. Another memory strikes. During the accident, a sharp object stabbed into her stomach. The ghostly figure remains beside her as the medics arrived, asking her to breath. Their faces mirror the same presence she's been seeing all along. Mary pushes in all her strength and the baby is born. She hears the cries, but struggles to breathe. Weak and fading, Mary looks at the ghostly figure and softly says she's ready. Then the final truth is revealed. Mary never left the hospital. She's been in a coma the entire time. Everything we've witnessed, her home, the pregnancy, the phone calls, was a creation of her fractured mind. Grayson sits beside her hospital bed, apologizing over and over as she lies unconscious. When Gabriella arrives, and Grayson steps out of the room. They crossed paths, but she didn't recognize him. Grayson returns home to his real family, where Terry, the woman Mary imagined as a waitress in the coffee shop, is revealed to be Grayson's real wife, and she tries to comfort him. Meanwhile, Mary remains in her coma, her mind drifting through memories of herself and her mother, quietly playing the piano together. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps like this. Thank you for watching.